Welcome to this explainer. Look, we have all been there, right? You start a brand new project, you're super pumped, the energy is high, and then you just kind of abandon it halfway through. If your space is currently littered with half read books, abandoned hobbies, or just generally unfinished goals, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to unpack the psychological trap behind all these unfinished projects. And more importantly, by the end of our time together, you're going to learn a remarkably simple framework to actually, finally get things done.
So, why do we never finish what we start? Well, to really figure this out, we're going to look at a pretty powerful story from our source material. It's the story of a guy named Schenker. Now, Schenker was a 28-year-old carpenter, and he had massive talent. We're talking incredibly skilled hands and a mind just overflowing with creative ideas. But he had one massive, honestly debilitating problem that dragged him down every single day. He seriously struggled to actually complete anything he started.
Which brings us right to Section 1, the unfinished project problem.
You see, Shunker's workspace was literally the perfect physical representation of this frustrating cycle so many of us experience. The source describes his shop like this: a chair with three legs, a table with no top, a cabinet with no doors. And let's be honest with ourselves here, we probably all have our own modern version of a three-legged chair hiding in our closet right now, right? This stark imagery beautifully illustrates the graveyard of half-done projects and abandoned dreams that just completely clutters Shunker's life. Every corner of his shop held the ghost of an idea he had given up on. When people would ask him when something would be ready, he'd just brush it off and say, "Soon, I just need to work on something else first." And the promises just kept piling up.
And this brings us to a really painful emotional reality. Schenker felt this heavy, isolating guilt every single night. It pressed on his chest like a stone. He would literally lie in the dark and ask himself, why can I not finish what I start? What is wrong with me? He incorrectly believed that his inability to finish things meant he was just fundamentally broken. It basically felt like an addiction to starting new things that he couldn't control.
And that leads us straight into Section 2, the messy middle. So Schenker's flaw played out in the worst possible way when he received the opportunity of a lifetime. He got a commission to carve a wedding chest for the mayor's daughter with a strict 3-month deadline. Let's break down how this went. He starts with huge enthusiasm, right? For the first 2 weeks, he is working with absolute passion. Everyone is telling him it's gonna be his masterpiece. But then, the distraction hits. He sees a design for a small jewelry box, and he rationalizes it. He tells himself, I'll just finish this quickly and then jump right back to the chest. But that entirely scattered his focus. One small project led to another. And suddenly, poof, 3 months evaporated. The wedding bells are literally ringing in the distance, and the chest is just sitting there without a lid or a lock. It was a completely devastating public failure.
He lost the job, the money, and his reputation. But way worse than all of that, he lost his self-respect. Sitting on the floor, surrounded by dozens of unfinished pieces, Schenker hit absolute rock bottom. He broke down, realizing he'd been failing the exact same way for years. He whispered, I am tired of being the man who almost did something great. So, broken and desperate for a change, he sought out Samuel. Samuel was a silent but absolutely brilliant master carpenter who lived at the edge of their village.
Which brings us to Section 3, the master's secret. Now, Samuel's shop was a stark contrast to Shunker's. It was perfectly clean, every single tool exactly in its place. When Shunker poured his heart out asking for help, Samuel didn't even say a word at first. He just calmly picked up a block of wood and began to carve. Then he finally spoke, saying, inside this wood is a spoon. My job is to remove everything that is not the spoon. He carved away a layer and explained that if he just stops halfway, it's just damaged, worthless wood. But by persisting layer by painstaking layer, he creates something deeply valuable.
And this beautifully illustrates the core trap we all fall into. The beginning of any project, that's the honeymoon phase. It's exciting, it's fresh, it's filled with new possibilities. But then comes what Samuel called the wilderness period, the messy middle. This is where the work gets hard and honestly boring. You start doubting yourself, and suddenly starting a brand new project looks incredibly tempting. The middle is exactly where frustration hits, where dreams go to die, and it is exactly where most people quit. So here is the crucial takeaway. Finishing is not about motivation. Motivation always fades every single time. Finishing is actually a practiced skill. It's rooted in a steady commitment to the process, especially when it's no longer exciting. It's not some magical burst of fleeting energy. It is a conscious choice you make when that initial energy is completely gone.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Section 4, the 10-minute rule.
How do we practice this skill? Well, Samuel gave Shankar a 30-day challenge that honestly serves as a highly actionable framework for all of us today. 10 minutes. That is the magic number. Samuel told Shankar to go back to his chaotic shop, pick his absolute simplest abandoned project, which was just a small wooden stool, and promise to work on it for exactly 10 minutes every single day, no matter what. Even if he didn't feel like it, even if a way better idea came along, the master told him, the man who can finish one thing can finish anything. So by mapping out Shankar's journey with this little stool, we can clearly see how small, unglamorous daily actions actually compound to defeat that messy middle we talked about. Day 1 was literally just 10 minutes of super boring work. By day 5, his hands were itching to start this brilliant new mirror frame design, but his commitment was stronger than the temptation. He chose to touch the stool instead. By day 12, this forgotten feeling returned, pride. Pride in actually keeping a promise to himself. And on day 23, the stool was completely finished.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, becoming a finisher.
That simple, humble little stool entirely unlocked Shankar's potential. When he sat on that completed stool, he realized something huge. He wasn't broken. He just hadn't learned the skill of finishing yet. Over the next 6 months, he completely transformed his workshop, rebuilt his reputation from scratch, and he successfully completed that magnificent wedding chest for the mayor. His story proves a fundamental truth about human psychology. Motivation comes and goes exactly like the tide. It is totally 100% unreliable. But consistency? That's the rock that stands firm. Small daily actions create massive results over time. By consistently showing up, Shankar fundamentally changed his identity from someone who almost did great things into someone who finishes.
To apply the profound lessons of this explainer to your own life, you really just need to remember these 3 rules. Number 1, embrace the messy middle. Just accept that the middle is going to be hard. That is a sign you're doing the real work, not a sign that you should quit. Number 2, finished beats perfect. A completed, simple project is worth vastly more than 10 brilliant ideas that just never happen. Done is always better than perfect. And number 3, touch it daily. Work on your goal a little bit every single day, even if it's literally just for 10 minutes.
I want to leave you with a final thought and a bit of a challenge. Take a look around your life right now. Look at your own half-read books, your abandoned fitness goals, your dusty creative projects. I want you to choose just one. Make it the easiest, simplest one. And finally make the choice to start finishing. Accountability is what turns intention into action. So ask yourself right now, what is the one project you are going to finish in the next 30 days? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, stop starting new things and start finishing.